Okay, we're going to install the heat deflector. So what the heat deflector does is it directs the hot air away from your electronics. So this is, we're looking down from the top, and you can see that there's an opening here where the exhaust gases can go straight up into your electronics. Now it's not such a problem on this helicopter because it's got such an open frame design, but I've included a heat deflector. Okay, so we're just going to install that now. So the way it goes in is you remove this screw from this hole here, and it just sits in there perfectly up against the side frame and over the top of the fins, and just tighten down the screw, and there you go. We've blocked off the heat vent, so it all gets deflected out the side over the top of your exhaust. Okay, I'm going to show you how to put the radio tray together. Now I've designed this radio tray around the concept that the TDRs use to mount the ESC tray, but I've gone one step further and put some isolation into it as well. So this is what it looks like. So generally you'll have a top and a bottom depending on how you want to run your radio tray. This tray on the bottom has been cut in half for clarity, but what it is it's one of these frame spaces, and I've put a skid nut in between them and then cable tied them to isolate the radio tray from the rest of the frame. So these frames actually do not touch directly the main frames, if I can get this into focus. Okay, so you can see there. Okay, so it's just cable tied around there. They need to be done up fairly tight so that they don't squirm. So what I like to do is I like to use just one radio tray to reduce weight, and I'll mount the battery on the bottom and just mount one layer, and I'll show you how to do that. So what it is, it's this frame spacer, the hexagonal one. There's a few of these in the standard kit, and I've got some rubber skid nuts. I just push them over. So you want them to sit around about there. Okay. Now, you'll see that there's some matching slots there, and what you need to do is you need to just place them in line with those and then run the cable ties around them. And there you go. So you got the isolation, and it's attached to the main frames, and you'll find that those will line up with the holes in the main frames. So I'll show you a radio tray that's been installed. The other thing I've done with this radio tray is these little tabs you can see. They're actually for bits of silicon tubing. So if I can put this on. To help center the radio tray and to isolate the radio tray from the main frames. So that's how it looks, and this is how it looks installed. So you can see the silicon tube there up against the main frames, front and back. And I'll show you on this heli. I've only used one radio tray. I've mounted the battery directly to the bottom using some Velcro. Now if you're running a bigger battery, you can run the second radio tray underneath and cable tie or strap the battery to the bottom radio tray. Now the other bit of advice is to mount your flybarless controller towards the center of the helicopter, as close as you can get to the axis of the motor. I find that this works best in this position. Okay, we're going to have a talk about servo install. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you install this pin to match up with the anti-rotation bracket. You also have to make sure that this elevator servo, that the ball link lies underneath that bracket and that the link is straight. Now to do this, you'll have to space the servo out, and you can see I've put some spaces in there, and these are just servo plates. They look like this. So these are just the carbon fiber servo plates, and I think I put 3 of those underneath there. That will depend on the type of servo you run, but these are aligned 610s. So that's the elevator servo. Now on the forward cyclic servos, I've mounted the servos inboard. So I've mounted the servos inside, which gives you good angle on the links, fairly vertical, good geometry. Now I'm using the Align metal servo arms on the second hole in, and that makes it 22 millimeters to the center. And this one's got a DFC head on it. I just want to show you a different setup. Some servos you actually can't mount inside because it actually isn't quite enough room. So for example, these brushless servos here I've had to mount on the outside, which means that I need to run the ball on the inside of the servo arm. This is to maintain a vertical link. So you'll find you'll have to do this with BLS 451 servos, any servos that are slightly longer, any of the higher spec servos. But with the Align DS610s you can mount them inboard. The other thing you'll need to do is to mount the throttle servo. So the cutout is for a DS520 servo or any sort of mid-sized servo. I find that works well for the throttle, and that's all that you'll need. And you'll be able to use one of the existing links out of the 700 Nitro to meet up with your motor. On the motor you'll need to install a ball link onto the throttle arm, but that's not too difficult. I've mounted the servos inboard, so I've mounted the servos inside.